Welcome to the series, Compliance at the University of Washington. This video, entitled The 7 Elements of Effective Compliance, is part 2 in the series and explains how the essential components of effective compliance support and sustain public research universities. Thanks for watching.
How does a large research institution comply with the hundreds of rules, laws, regulations, and standards that govern its operations? How does that institution ensure high-quality academic programs, a safe campus, and appropriate stewardship of resources?
The 7 elements of effective compliance provide a way to structure, organize, and manage a university's complex compliance obligations. The 7 elements are leadership and oversight, standards of conduct, policies and procedures, education and outreach, monitoring and auditing, receiving reports and investigating, accountability, incentives and corrective action, and response and prevention. Let's review the 7 elements, beginning with leadership and oversight.
An institution maintains a credible, coordinated compliance program with access to senior leadership, functional committee structures, and regular reporting to the university's governing board. Robust leadership and oversight of the compliance program will connect the program's goals with the university's mission, set a tone from the top, emphasize the ethical and responsible behavior of community members, and confer authority to implement approved projects and established priorities.
Standards of conduct, policies, and procedures provide clear expectations and practical guidance for a university community regarding behavior and decision-making. Maintaining clear published standards allows an institution to establish shared expectations, guide university operations, connect relevant laws and regulations to institutional policies and procedures, and detail the rights and responsibilities of all community members.
The third element is education and outreach. The university community regularly receives relevant, comprehensive, and consistent education, outreach, and messaging that is designed to engage the community in an ongoing conversation about key laws and regulations, communicate clear and specific information about the institution's expectations for compliance, and build role-specific knowledge and practical skills among faculty, staff, and students. Successful education and outreach efforts can only take place when clear policies and procedures have already been established.
The next element is monitoring and auditing. Activities in this area are intended to proactively assess whether university programs adhere to laws, rules, and regulations, facilitate informed and evidence-based decision-making by an institution's leadership, and determine the effectiveness of compliance efforts. Monitoring and auditing can confirm appropriate standards and policies are in place and whether a university community is receiving regular, effective education and outreach on their content.
The next element is receiving reports and investigating. Here, an institution provides its community with ways to seek guidance and report violations of laws, regulations, or policies. It has appropriate offices and dedicated units to receive complaints and conduct prompt, fair, and impartial investigations. Receiving reports and investigating allows an institution to reinforce confidence in and adherence to the institution's policies and procedures, protect complainants against retaliation, and ensure that the university is a safe and productive environment.
The 6th element is accountability, incentives, and corrective action. These help an institution to support and encourage an environment of positive compliance with laws and regulations, establish appropriate lines of responsibility that connect an institution's leadership with faculty, staff, and students, and provide clear and consistent consequences for non-compliance.
The final element, response and prevention, allows systemic issues to be identified, root causes determined, and appropriate solutions developed and implemented. University leaders are engaged to resolve situations that are too big or too pervasive to be addressed at the department or unit level. The institution takes lessons learned in one area to create best practices that are shared across the university.
While each of the 7 elements includes unique and specific functions, it is their operation as an interconnected whole, a system, that meets the needs of a complex, dynamic research university and those of its students, faculty, staff, and community.
Here's an example of what that means. An institution receives an increased number of accident reports from research labs. Following an investigation of those reports, leaders in the Environmental Health and Safety Department recognize that action must be taken to respond and prevent recurrence of such accidents. As investigators seek root causes, they discover that existing policies and procedures are outdated and no longer conform with applicable laws and regulations. Although labs are stocked with adequate personal protective equipment, or PPE, such as lab coats and gloves, many researchers and students simply don't use proper gear. There's inconsistent guidance on expected safety practices and behaviors.
A project is initiated to update policies, which are then reviewed and approved by the institution's leadership. A new training campaign is launched with incentives for routine and appropriate use of PPE. These efforts provide a basis for future monitoring and auditing of the effectiveness of and compliance with revised procedures, and help to ensure accountability among those working and learning in university labs.
Effective compliance at a research university is a complex and ongoing task, one that relies on just this kind of continuous improvement.
As demonstrated here, the 7 elements of effective compliance create a structure that helps research universities organize their compliance obligations into logical, manageable, and interrelated areas of focus.
This completes Part 2 of the series, Compliance at the University of Washington. In Part 3, learn about institution-wide compliance at the University of Washington.